A very good evening to one and all present, and welcome to a brand new episode of VUTV by Vijay Bhumi. This is a series that we bring to you on a weekly basis called Educators Speak, where we are joined by eminent educators to talk about topics related to the future of education. And today, in fact, we are also discussing a very, very important topic in the realm of these topics, which is the importance of digital literacy in schools. This is definitely something that is, that has come to higher prominence after the entire COVID-19 pandemic, with everything being virtual, schools being virtual, work from home happening. I think there's not a better time than now that it's really important for everybody to be equipped with the right technological skills, because clearly technology is here to stay. And I'm going to be joined by a very eminent educator who will be conversing with me on this topic today. We're going to be joined by Mrs. Shakuntala. Mrs. Shakuntala has had nearly over 4 decades of professional experience in the area of teaching, and she's been a school educator. She's currently the director of the Trinity International School and Junior College. She has been awarded with prestigious awards that include the International Leadership Excellence Award by Academia Dubai, the Nation Building Award by Rotary Club Pune, and many, many more. And I don't think we could have had a better guest on today's discussion when we are discussing something as important as the importance of digital literacy in schools. Like we were just, I was warming my audience up to the topic. I think the COVID-19 pandemic has truly made it imperative for all of us to be adept with technology. We have realized a huge use case to it. We've all also realized that technology is here to stay and it's going to continue being a big part of our lives. So now that, we are creating these students to be professionals of tomorrow, it's very important to expose them to technology, to, ensure that they're learning the correct digital skills so that, they are very much relevant in tomorrow's workforce. So we're going to be discussing this and a lot more with Shakuntala ma'am today. I would like to thank her for taking out the time out of a busy schedule for joining us today. Ma'am, we are truly honored and grateful to have you with us today. So without further ado, we are going to straight away just, get into the questions. So, ma'am, first, I would like to know from you, as I open this conversation, according to you, what is the importance of digital literacy in schools today?
I think by now everyone has realized how important it is. Don't have to say anything because with the pandemic, suddenly we were kind of thrown into the water to swim, without having really been taught swimming. So this came as an eye opener to everyone, to a lot of us. And of course, we do use technology in school, but not to the extent that it was required during this time. And everything had to go online. So that became a very necessary, for everyone to be on board with that. A lot of our teachers were not very techno savvy, but I'm glad to say that they all put in efforts and they've learned a lot more during this time. I myself am not great with technology, but I researched a lot of tools which were interactive for my teachers to use, and I did workshops with my teachers so that they could make their, classroom more engaging with the children. Because I realized that this was a difficult way of communicating with the children, and in the beginning we found a lot of them, uh, showing online, but they were not there. So that became a major challenge for the teachers to make sure that the students were also there. Then so that is why the interactive ones were really really necessary, and everyone realized. And I remember when we had the first break after the pandemic, after March, April, we had a short time. We just did a little bit, but whole of May, I spent in getting the teachers to research and to find ways in which they could use, digital platforms more conveniently and with more ease, because that would become now their only way of taking the classes. And yes, uh, I remember from a long, it's been a long time since I've been asking the teachers certain methodologies like flip learning and all. We've been trying it out, but somehow the teachers were not really getting into it. But thanks to this pandemic, everyone became, oh yes, we have to do it that way, and I'm glad that they put in so much effort and got it going.
Absolutely, ma'am. I agree with you. I think this pandemic forced all of us to change. We were talking about it earlier, but everybody was easy, comfortable where they were. So nobody wanted to evolve. But with this pandemic, you were left with no choice but to evolve. So,
Yeah,
ma'am,
everyone likes to be in their comfort zone.
absolutely.
So it was not something that they wanted to do, but then suddenly when it became so necessary and imperative that they do, they found themselves, and they reinvented themselves, and they were able to really make a good job of it. Today when I look at the feedback from our parents, I'm getting such wonderful feedback from them, saying how happy they are that their children did not lose out on anything during this whole year, where there would have been a great loss of studies. So more than studies, skill sets and other interesting concept driven classes became the real heroes here.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I think, we don't recognize this enough, but I strongly believe that, like how, health workers have been, frontline warriors during the COVID-19 pandemic, I think teachers and school educators have been no less. Because, ensuring that education remains uninterrupted, students are also being, productively, their time is being engaged. I think that's a very big role that was shouldered by, the entire education community. And hats off to each of you for that. With that, I will definitely want to ask you because you have such a vast and diverse, experience as an educator. How do you think we should, integrate digital literacy, as a part of our school curriculum for students?
Yeah, now that even the NEP is now insisting on this, I'm sure everyone is now going to go into it fully. And yes, I'm not a very great fan of full teaching, through technology. And I always was very careful about using technology in a way that it did not hamper the creativity of the teacher. There were a lot of platforms, we have so many vendors who have full packages wherein they have full lesson plans, their assessments, everything prepared online on those boards, the interactive boards, and all that the teacher has to do is just follow the instructions, and that's it. So that is something which I never did really want to have in my school, because I feel this human connect is what is very important. But then of course it is important, technology is important too, but we have to be very careful about what we choose to do in technology. Yes, the children need to learn a lot more, because they are going into an era where there's going to be it's going to be the whole technology era is there. Everyone, children are more digitally aware than we are, and they always have been. So it's been something that they like. So I thought that things like gamification in education was something that we should bring in. These are the things which will, interest the children also. At the same time, help them to learn much better. So these, then there are so many other, I think, coding, for example. Coding is an excellent tool for what we call the HOTS, which CBSE calls HOTS, the high order thinking skills. And if you look at Bloom's taxonomy also, when you look at the higher pyramid, part of the pyramid, you talk about analysis, synthesis, creativity. So coding has all these. It not only makes the children more technology learned, but it also makes them more creative. It makes them think and analyze and use the kind of mathematical, simple mathematical knowledge that they have gained, and in real time. And then it makes sense to them to be learning all these things, because then I remember we had one science exhibition in our school, and uh, our students from 6th and 7th standard, they were able to create games with the help of coding. So it's okay. It was a game. It was a pastime for them. But at the same time, they did learn how to. They did learn the language. They learned how to make those instructions, how to follow them, how to analyze things, and then synthesize them, and then create something new for themselves. So I think our work as educators was done that way.
Absolutely agree with you, ma'am. Things like coding, exposing them to robotics, definitely apart from making them more technologically adept, is also definitely helping develop more critical reasoning things, higher order thinking skills, like you just highlighted. So there is a lot of a use case of it also, apart from just making them more adept at using technology. Now, generally, like we were conversing, and you did mention that especially for students of this day and age, it's very important for them to be, digitally literate. But obviously, there is another school of thought, and very rightfully so, that parents are very concerned about, exposing the children to digital gadgets at a very young age. So, where do you think we should draw that balance? How quickly should we expose them to the, digital world?
No, I have seen children of pre-primary using coding. In when I go for my inspections to Dubai, I remember in some of the schools I found pre-primary children using coding. So they were perfectly comfortable with it. They were able to do it and they enjoyed doing it. So I don't think it's wrong, to start early. But the only thing is, yes, uh, there has to be for everything. There's a good and the bad. So you have to wait properly. So you have to make sure that it's being used correctly. It is being used appropriately. And yes, too much time on the screen, not good for anyone, children or otherwise. So here the parents need to have some kind of restrictions. So this is necessary, but I think it's fine to start at an early age.
Definitely, I think I agree with you, ma'am. I think we have to draw that fine balance. I mean, as long as it is for productive use, for learning something new, then I think definitely, I think parents and teachers are open to the idea. But then, there are also other things like, students start chatting, social media, etc. That's definitely something that parents also have to be very cognizant of today. That, how, because obviously technology comes with its good and bad, right? So, as educators and parents, we have to be very careful and making sure that, students are using technology in the right manner. I mean, at least until we feel they're responsible enough to handle it on their own.
I know it's a bit difficult because this it's a very fine line. So when
Correct.
so that is why the parents have to keep parents, teachers, they have to lay down rules. And somewhere along the way, our children have not learned to live with rules. Too much of indulgence at home, too much of, I think either it is overprotectiveness or total ignorance, ignoring the children. That is happening in the families. There are micro families with only one or maximum two children in the family, no elders in the house. So what is happening is there's either too much of restrictions or there are no restrictions at all.
Correct.
And somewhere we have to learn to find the mid path and make sure that we use it wisely for our children.
Correct. Absolutely, ma'am. Totally agree with you there. So, for the benefit of, the educators who are joining me as members of audience today, I would like to know from you, what are the essential digital skills that need to be covered in school education? Okay, so I think we have a little bit of difficulty. I think Shakuntala ma'am will just join us very shortly. So just to sort of recapitulate the discussion that we had with, Shakuntala ma'am. So, what we were talking about is, how to draw a very fine line between, exposing children to, digital gadgets for productive use, and also, sort of keeping them away from it, because it's not very uncommon nowadays that one sees that really really young children, actually, if I may say so, toddlers and babies, a lot of times, just parents, to get them off the back, they hand them gadgets, and from a very young age, they're exposed to these gadgets, because obviously parents are also working, and they need some time to themselves, and to just keep the child occupied, and so that they're not troubling them. they end up giving these gadgets to them, and kids just get glued to the screens. I mean, you will see that, it's very common nowadays that, young children of 2 to 3 years old, they know how to operate the iPads, they know how to go to YouTube and things like that. I mean, it's obviously amazing, but also it just makes one realize that, we are creating such a different generation altogether. So that's what I think, the essence what Shakuntala ma'am was trying to share with us today was this, that I think we have to be very careful. I mean, as long as, technology is being used for, like productive things, like, children, especially, because one has found, there are numerous research studies and papers that are available that show that how, activities like coding, robotics develop higher order thinking skills for students and for children, and why it's a good idea for them to be exposed at it at an early age. So all, I think, that's where we need to create that balance as parents and teachers, where, we expose them to that side and ensure that they're using only technology productively. And in the meantime, as they're growing up, it's really important for us to constantly, sensitize them and teach them how to be, responsible citizens, because, responsible netizens, how to use internet responsibly. Because, all of that sensitization needs to happen at home. All of that sensitization needs to happen at schools, where we do have to talk to them about, like important things, like, there is a lot of bullying that happens. There is a lot of one seen stalking and all kinds of negative activities that happen on the internet today. So it's important that we have the conversation with them at home today and sort of get them ready, and also sensitize them to these potential issues that they can face while they are digital citizens. I am noticing there's a very lovely chat that is happening on the chat box feature, and I'm very, very happy to see. I mean, there are some concerns that are being raised about rural areas, and I think that's a very important and valid question, because one will notice that especially during this pandemic, what happened was that the private schools and cities were able to roll out education fairly effectively, and you saw that in the rural areas, due to lack of connectivity, a lot of the education that was hampered, especially in the past year, which was the pandemic year. So I definitely think that there is a need for us to sit up and realize that, we have to extend connectivity to all areas to ensure that there is no, there is uninterrupted access to education, because we don't know how long this pandemic is going to be here, how long we're going to be operating in this hybrid sort of situation. But we need to ensure that at least education remains uninterrupted for students. So definitely agree with a lot of the comments there, which are talking about, taking it to rural areas and accessibility issues. So, ma'am, going back to the conversation, we would like to know from you that what are the essential digital skills that need to be covered for students in the school curriculum, according to you?
So one is, of course, coding that I was telling you. Apart from that, yes, the usual, we already have computer science as one of the subjects, but now AI also is being introduced, not only by in the CBSE, but I think all schools will start using. Augmented reality is also another very good tool, for making the children see real time, effects, or looking at concepts which are abstract to them, but then looking at it in a way which makes it real for them. So these are some things that we should include in our curriculum.
Definitely, ma'am. Totally agree with you there. And this was, this was a little bit of a chat that we were having earlier. And, I see there's some questions also from the audience on this. So can you share with us, how can digital literacy actually enhance learning for students? Also, are there any specific tools that your teachers have been using, like which are technology enabled, that have actually helped them motivate their students more? Till then, I'm very happy to share with all of you that we just ran a poll in the beginning of the session. That do you think digital literacy needs to be approved in schools? And I'm very happy to share that 100% of our audience members feel that definitely needs to be improved in schools, and we need to relook the way that we are integrating digital education in our school curriculums. Very happy to see that, because I'm glad everybody is recognizing this particular fact, because that's definitely going to lead to the beginning of this change that needs to happen. In fact, I think now, even with the new education policy that came in last year, there's a lot of light that is being thrown on this particular aspect. Like, Shakuntala ma'am was sharing with us in her previous answers. So it's a twofold effect one can see in terms of technology and the intersection between technology and learning. One is, you can see this newfound importance that is being given to technology being integrated in learning. So, like, more of technological um, skills that need to be that children need to be exposed to, like, for example, ma'am was saying coding, understanding the basics of artificial intelligence, understanding a little bit of robotics. Also, for example, things like, nowadays you see, like making PPTs, sending emails, all of that. You are having workshops regarding all these different aspects of the digital age that are a part of school curriculum today, and students are being exposed to it. Like I was earlier talking about, cyberbullying, etc. So there's a lot of also content that is being given to students about how they need to be responsible over the internet. And the second aspect of it, which has also been highlighted about technology, is about using technology to enhance learning for students. This has been covered in the NEP as well, and especially due to this forced experimentation that we've gone through because of COVID. Schools and teachers have discovered multiple technological platforms which they can very effectively use to enhance the learning that they're delivering to their students. You have a lot of teachers that who are using various technological tools. They're using videos to actually sort of help students understand concepts better. Also, technology is being very effectively used to make the learning of students more student centric. So in fact, this was also one of the things that was covered by the NEP, that there is a need to make learning very personalized for students, because every student is different. Their learning abilities and capabilities are different, right? So you can use technology very effectively to understand that how a particular learner is learning, and where they need extra help, and through that personalized attention can be given very readily to students, which is also one of the merits of using technology and how it is used to enhance learning. Also, like Shakuntala ma'am was sharing with her answer with us, augmented reality. So, with tools like augmented reality, virtual reality, where students can actually envision things with, in front of themselves, that has definitely helped them understand a lot of concepts better. And I think another aspect which probably is not completely explored in the school education space, but we see is explored quite a bit in the higher education space, is the fact of collaborative teaching. So I think COVID has made us realize that it is really not important for people to be in the same physical geographical area for them to be able to deliver a lecture to the students. So you can actually bring the best of faculty from anywhere in the globe to your students through VC. So definitely there's a lot of use case to this. Over to you, Shakuntala ma'am.
I'm so sorry. Like the electricity is playing hide and seek today. So
No, absolutely understand.
hmm.
Absolutely.
There's
So,
some questions you wanted me to answer. You had asked me earlier.
yes, ma'am. So the essential skills that students need to the digital skills that they need to learn. So you
Pardon?
mentioned,
Yeah.
ma'am,
Yeah, we're talking about coding, AI, augmented reality, AR, artificial intelligence. All these we were talking about. These are now
correct.
the things that they have to know about.
Absolutely.
Robotics. All these are now, STEM education, STEAM. These are now something that we have to make part of our school curriculum. It is
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, ma'am, in fact, one of our audience members is asking us that in your school, do you have a digital literacy teacher, or are you like planning to recruit one? What do you have in mind for your school?
for digital literacy. I don't think we need a separate person. We have our system administrator. We have a whole team of system administrators who look after the technology part of the school, and we have our computer science teachers. We have all our other. We have an ERP system which is again totally based on technology. So we use a lot of technology in the school, and time to time, just as we have in other pedagogy, in when there is a change in pedagogy, especially now when we had this 21st century skills, we didn't have to hire a person to teach them those. It was the team within itself, who understood and who was able to do. Yes, sometimes we have to get some people from outside to help out. We do outsource some of the workshops to people who are experts in it, and now it's become even easier because of digitalization. We are able to get people from all over the world. Earlier it was difficult to, and expensive to get them here to come in. And I have a lot of friends around the world, and we are actually making use of that. And we do ask them to hold some webinars, some workshops with our teachers to help them. Otherwise, I think we are managing on our own, way. That is, I think all schools are doing that. I don't think anyone
Correct.
requires a separate, cell for it.
Got it, ma'am. No, no, you're absolutely right. And this is something actually I was just talking about earlier. That technology and us seeing the use case of technology has just made it a lot more easier for us to collaborate with so many faculty members from around the world. And that definitely, in a way, is a great learning exercise for our students and giving them access to better and diverse set of
Right.
teaching faculties. The
Absolutely.
other thing, ma'am, in this entire, it's been 1+ year now. So, how, any technological tools your teachers use that, enhance the learning of the students that you observe? Any tools, one of our audience members was asking that any tools that your teachers have been using, which, has helped increase the motivation of the students towards learning or inspired them to learn more. So, if you may share your experience with
Yeah,
us.
there are lots of them. That there's something called quizzes. It's a very nice tool for even for assessing everyday classroom. So what we do at the end of the lesson, we have a quizzes set for them. It's a quiz that they have to answer, just to get a feedback from them about how they've understood the concept. Then there's Kahoot is also a very good tool to be used. Of course, there are others are the using the different boards, the jam board and other. Google itself has so many. In
Yeah.
fact, looked at a lot of these extensions that we now, all the teachers from Chrome, the Chrome has so many extensions, and they are building more and more. And as and when we learn about them, we immediately look at it, do a little research. There are so many, YouTube videos on how to use almost everything. So whenever I come across something new, immediately look at for some YouTube instructions to do it. Then we do it together and we try it out, and it's been working very well for us.
Fantastic, ma'am. And before we end the session today, I definitely would like to take one of the questions that my audience members have raised, which is that, what are your thoughts, or probably what are you doing in school to promote digital citizenship, to basically sensitize students to responsible use of technology, social media, gadgets, etc.?
Yeah, now this is very something which I was, in fact, today only working on a workshop for all our students called Netiquette. Since we are going to be on the net, we are going to use social media, we are going to be, getting into the digital world more aggressively. So it's very important that the children are educated on how to use the net properly, using etiquette. Netiquette is net etiquette. So I found when I was, when I'm observing classes and I'm, doing other things, I found a lot of them, even our teachers themselves, they're not very aware of the etiquette that one needs to follow when you are online. So this is something I thought we must teach both the teachers as well as the students. So I've got some very interesting, graphics on it, which I'm planning to make into posters and put it up, and make sure that our children are all taught these rules. Because just as we have rules for other physical, classrooms, or what we call as a classroom organization, we should have the same kind of organization in a virtual classroom as well. So these should be followed, the rules should be followed, and everyone should understand how to use it, what the do's and the don'ts. This is important. So I think my next workshop with everyone is going to be netiquette and how to use the net
Lovely.
properly.
Lovely, lovely. I just love the term you've coined.
If you want, I can send some of them to you. You can just pass it on to everyone.
Most definitely. I think that will be extremely resourceful for everybody.
Yeah.
Fantastic, ma'am. I mean, it's amazing to see the kind of initiatives that you are undertaking at the Trinity School and college. And, I'm so happy to hear that, today we are having this conversation and to hear your progressive thoughts on, how we can put together structures to promote digital literacy in schools, to promote digital citizenship, responsible usage of the internet. It's truly been a pleasure conversing with you, ma'am. I really had a great time, and I think all of us, including my audience members, have gone back with some great food for thought to reflect on and to actually implement in our respective schools or with our children. Thank you so very much for taking out the time and joining us despite these technical difficulties.
Thank you so much, and I'm only sorry for the breaks that I had to
No,
take in between.
not at all. Not at all. I think all of us totally understand. We've all been in that place. Thank you very much again. It was truly a pleasure to be conversing with you. A big thank you to all my lovely audience members. Thank you very much for joining in such large numbers, because it is this encouragement that keeps us going week on week to get you these episodes on a weekly basis. We'll be back again next week on Thursday at 5 p.m. to discuss another important topic with an eminent educator.
Kritika, can I ask you to send me the questions which were posed, because I would like to answer them. I didn't see any of the questions, and
Most definitely.
but I would love to, get all the questions that were, asked today in today's session.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure conversing with you. Thank you very much.
Bye.